The Walking Dead starts off quiet. It's a whole 3.5 minutes into the first scene before any words are spoken. This silence allows the viewer to feel just how empty— Hey nigga! That's the wrong zombie thing! You're supposed to be talking about The Last of Us 2! Fuck, let me restart this real quick. Let me just redo this. Let me redo this. The past few months for this game have been kind of rough with all the leaks and shit, but the past couple of days have been even worse, with the audience ratings of this game being incredibly bad. Like, look at this. How the fuck does this happen? And with all this being said, I think I need to state that I don't care that I'm playing as Ellie. I also don't give a fuck that she's scissoring it up with another girl. There are definitely some politically driven elements to the story, and albeit some of them are absolutely retarded, I can't really go into them without spoiling the game, nor do I want to. Now allow me to tell you what The Last of Us 2 is really about. This shit right here is an emotional roller coaster, bro. It made me sad, it made me scared, it made me angry. Oh, fuck did it make me angry. Halfway through the game, there's a big ass change, and I swear to God I ranted about it for 30 minutes, but I'll get to that later. The game has a couple themes throughout, the first one being revenge. And in the beginning stages of the game, the lust for revenge that drives Ellie is insurmountable. It'd even be safe to say that this revenge drives her throughout the entire game. But towards the halfway point, the theme makes a kind of shift. It goes from being this rough, kill everyone who wronged you, Taken type story, to this wrong things come to those who do wrong, Sesame Street type shit. The Last of Us 2 is full of regrettable decisions, and the effects of these decisions begin to weigh on all of the characters. Some end up dead, some end up physically disabled, but the one trait that everyone involved in the story seemed to pick up were closest to that of PTSD. In the moments where Ellie is killing the big bads, she seems to become haunted by her actions almost immediately after doing so. She would begin to shake or wouldn't be able to talk, things like this. These feelings are what spotlight the second theme of the story, that revenge is bad and that the consequences for it are even worse. This second theme transforms Ellie from this badass killing machine into a fucking pussy. Before about 90% of the game, I'd say that the overarching story is pretty solid. Ellie's revenge is originally shared by everybody around her, but as the game progresses, there are other things that become more important to these people, but not Ellie. Her revenge grows stronger as the game progresses, and each person she kills just isn't enough to seat her anger. This anger drives a wedge between her and her friends, and results in her losing almost everything.
I really hope you make it.
After killing each big bad, you go into a flashback. These flashbacks consisting usually of moments between Joel and Ellie. Some of them are very heartfelt and warm, and some just make you want to drill a hole into your fucking PlayStation. But in most of these moments, there's this sort of peace. These moments draw you away from the main narrative so much so that you just want to keep playing the flashbacks. You see the love that Joel and Ellie have for each other, but towards the last flashbacks, their relationship begins to crumble. These moments convey perfectly the amount of pain that these two characters feel due to their choices, and for me at least, this was sad to see, which means Naughty Dog did their job. But with most good things, there comes some drawbacks. In fact, there's 3 that I can think of, one of which is the abundance of uninteresting and forgettable characters. The best way to show you guys this is with one of those oh so washed up tier lists. So we all know who Joel is, we all know how great Joel is, and he's actually my father in real life, so not only is he practically a real person, he's a real person, he's my dad. Then we have that cool ass nigga Ellie, you know, she's that nigga, kind of PTSD strained, but she's still pretty cool, she's practically a real person. We got Joel's ride or die Tommy here, you know he belongs nowhere but the top. Then we have Dina here. Dina is a character. That is all you need to know about her. She belongs right here. It's not that she's unlikable. I just didn't care about anything that was going on with her character. And then we have your main man, Jesse. You see, Jesse's a cool ass nigga. Like, he's a very likable guy, but he's very forgettable. Very, very forgettable. Now we have Muscle Woman here herself, Abby. She's very memorable, but she's also a bitch, so fuck her. Then we have your boy Owen here. You know, Owen's a cool ass nigga. He's level-headed, he doesn't take shit too seriously. He's a pretty cool dude, and I'm 100% positive I will never forget who Owen is because of what he does. It's a pretty crazy thing to do. Pretty crazy thing to put into a video game. And then we have Nora here. She was part of Abby's group. She's a person. That's all that matters. Don't really care about her. She's pretty forgettable. But this bitch here, Mel, I looked her up on Google to get the picture and I couldn't find a good picture. So I just had to get a screen cap. I know who Mel is, but it seems like the internet doesn't. Then we have Isaac here, who's the leader of Abby's group, and I couldn't find a good picture of him on the internet either. So I guess him and Mel go hand in hand. Then we have our girl Yara here. She's pretty much the exact same as young Ellie, but with a little added oriental flair. And then we have that little nigga Lev. That nigga uses a bow during a zombie apocalypse, and he doesn't use anything but the bow. He's kind of retarded, but he's still pretty dope dude. There are two characters I forgot to put up here because, you know, Naughty Dog's writing and all, but that would be Manny and Jordan. Manny is a very likable dude, but he's not memorable at all, so he would go up there with Jesse. And I was even considering not mentioning Jordan because of how forgettable he is, but he would be down there with Mel and Isaac. See, now this is bad. The majority of the characters are either unlikable, forgettable, or both. But the thing is, that's not even the worst aspect of the game. About 12 Around the 12-hour mark, this game makes the dumbest decision I've ever seen. It reaches an amazing climax where Ellie and the antagonist Abby are in a standoff. You see, Abby was introduced at the very beginning of the game. You play as her for about 45 minutes. Then you never see her again until the climax. And once you get to this point in the game, you go all the way back to the beginning, but not as Ellie. You see, now you have to play as Abby, and not for a mere 45 minutes. Oh no 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 no. Naughty Dog thought that just wasn't enough time. So instead, they put you in her driver's seat for a whole fucking 10 hours. This decision is the reason I ranted for 30 minutes. What you're about to witness is the most pure form of verbal anger you've ever heard, comparable to the ravings of a madman. You may continue to this part of the video, but I highly recommend turning down your volume.
Bro, all they had to do was not put a second person in the game, fam. That's all they fucking had to do. I didn't want to play as anybody fucking else in this game, bro. I wanted to play as the characters that I played as last game. I did not want a new fucking character at all. It doesn't matter their race, their fucking sex. I don't fucking care about that. Nigga, I just don't. I want to play as Ellie or Joel. Nigga, like, fuck this shit, dude. This is so stupid. This is so fucking dumb. This is the first time that I've ever wanted to just stop playing a game halfway through because of the characters, bro. I don't want to fucking play this anymore. I don't like any of these characters that she's surrounded by. Oh, dude, this is so fucking retarded, bro. This is such a dumb thing to do.
And look, I don't give a fuck that Abby can bench literally 2 of me. And I also don't give a fuck about the fact that her head is way too small for her body. My original gripe with this was that I didn't want to play as anybody besides Joel or Ellie. I didn't like that this character was stumping her way into my control. My reasoning for this is because of what she did. I won't say exactly because it's a pretty fucking big spoiler, but she was the main antagonist for a reason. You can infer about that what you will. Her supporting characters also took part in her actions, making me dislike them just as much.
Keep him safe.
For you, I will.
After blowing off some steam through the rant, I realized this was the point. Forcing you to control her makes you angry. It creates a sense of discomfort, and the fact that you have to do it for so long made it clear to me that Naughty Dog was trying to redeem her and make her likable, and sadly, they failed to do so. As Abby, one of the first things that you do is play with the dog that then becomes a companion. She interacts with the dog as any other person would, and don't get me wrong, the dog is cute as fuck. Just look at this little nigga. But this is the catalyst for her story being one of redemption. And I don't mean for herself, she completely agrees with what she did, but redeeming her in the eyes of the player. Every action her and her companions take feels like they're trying to make up for what they did. Even the playful dialogue between them seems more lighthearted than that of Ellie and her group.
Another month and I wouldn't fit through here.
Go ahead, Abs.
You said ladies first.
I like it.
And by the end of the story, I only liked 3 people in her group, one being the dog and the other 2 being people who had nothing to do with her original actions. This theme of redemption became more tolerable to me as I played her, but at no point did I feel like her actions were justified, even though that was the whole point of her story. Abby just isn't a likable character. Towards the end of your run as her, you have to do something that she had done throughout her entire arc, but this time it was very, very hard to do so. As the buttons appeared on the screen to commit these actions, I was legitimately distraught. For the first time in a video game, I felt sick because I was doing something. This moment and the situation she found herself in were the only redeeming qualities about her character. and if Ellie had been the one in these same situations, the game would have been much better. As far as the story goes, Abby and most of the supporting characters are the only weak points, and these are pretty big weak points considering the amount of time you have to put into the game, especially when it comes to Abby. But after you trudge through her shitstorm of a story, you get back to Ellie, and for the most part, the game shines from here on out. You know, sometimes simple is good, and simple is exactly how I describe the gameplay of The Last of Us 2. It's practically identical to that of the original one, but with added animations and an overall smoothness that the first one failed to achieve. In a way, it's just a more refined take on the original, which isn't inherently bad. I mean, I played the first one for the first time right before I started the sequel, and I wasn't tired from the similarities in the gameplay. Though the downside to the simplicity is that the game isn't that difficult. I played The Last of Us 2 on hard for my entire playthrough, but at no point did I struggle as much as I did during the first walk around the clickers in the first one. The stealth system here just seemed far easier than that of the first. It'd even be safe to say that it's the easiest stealth mechanic in any game I've played where stealth is a main factor. For instance, if there's two clickers next to each other, you can usually stealth kill one without alerting the other and then proceed to kill that one. This is also possible to do with runners as long as the second one doesn't see you. Now, when it comes to normal enemy NPCs, it's a bit different. Most groups that I've come across are having their own conversations. On top of that, the enemy NPCs have names. When killing someone, one of the other NPCs will call out their name in distress. The amount of realism that this showed is fucking crazy. I know it's a very small aspect of the game, but that little detail made me feel as if every person I was killing mattered one way or another. Along with this, the animations for killing are pretty fucking sick. There's a lack of them when it comes to stealth kills, but when killing an enemy using a melee weapon or your fist, the animations are flawlessly done. They're not as impressive as they were in the original E3 showcase, but it's pretty damn close. Now the gun mechanics are they're very average. It's pretty much staple gunplay where you get behind cover and kill enough enemies to move to another piece of cover. Rinse, repeat, over and over again. That fucking sucks, but I'd say that the melee combat definitely makes up for it. You can't do close combat for the entire game, but when you can, it gives you this small burst of adrenaline that makes you feel like you're really doing something. The crafting system is still complete shit though. It didn't really change that much from the first one, and the scarcity of materials doesn't help either. But thankfully, if you're getting your ass handed to you, you can just go to the accessibility settings and practically activate cheat codes. Right alongside the crafting system is the weapons upgrading system. This, unlike the shitty crafting system, has actually gotten better. There aren't as many upgrades and the majority of them were useless to me, but just look at how when I max out this pistol, it goes from a complete piece of shit to the most beautiful chunk of metal filled with gunpowder you've ever seen. Then you have the puzzles of the game, which literally has a skip button. They mostly consist of finding safe codes, throwing wires, and pushing trash cans around. I didn't even know the skip puzzle button existed until I was practically done with the game. But if I did know it was there, I would have definitely used it. Because about 4 hours in, I ran into a real problem. You see, occasionally you'll have to move wires around for generators, and this happened to be one of those occasions. The only thing is, I didn't fucking know you could throw the wire. So I was trying to figure out how to get this dumb fucking wire over this fence for 30 minutes without realizing I could just throw it over. My companion even told me what to do, and I knew what I needed to do. I just didn't know how. So I was just running around the whole area looking for a way to jump the gate, and there was nothing. And then by chance, I pressed L2.
I'm such a fucking dumbass, bro.
All in all, The Last of Us 2 is a solid game. I didn't have many expectations coming into it because this is only the second Naughty Dog game that I've played, The Last of Us 1 being the first one. I knew the story would be good, but I wasn't expecting the complete 180 at the halfway mark, or the weak characters. I thought the gameplay would be okay, and to my surprise, it was better than okay. There were a few bugs, from my flashlight facing sideways,
My light is on the side. That's not usable.
to getting stuck in a truck that wasn't even accessible. But these bugs are small problems in the grand scheme of things. The real problem is that fucking ending. 6 out of 10.